So Lynn, can you share a little bit about Dr. Batch's philosophy? The space that he came from when he created these remedies. I know he's written quite a lot, and I have read quite a lot of his writings, but I'm sure you must have devoured almost everything that he's written. And what's your favorite parts about his philosophy, the space that he came from?
I like the fact that he, when he talks about that, every soul in incarnation is down here for a specific purpose, yes, of fulfilling, if you like, that destiny that they have. And that the whole point about being the captain of your own soul. And I feel that for me, it's those sort of like nuggets like that I feel are actually really important, because I think so many people today, and I think it's gone on for a long time. I mean, I certainly saw that when I was working as in the talking therapies, is that so many people do not live their own story. They're living somebody else's story, their family story, the expectations that might have been placed on them, or the projections that have been placed on them, and so on. And they've never really known who they truly are. And I think that for me is where I feel that Dr. Batch's philosophy really can resonate for people. I think that, and when he talks about, the things like pride and greed and so on, that are the kind of roots of illness. And I do think that, again, I think it's very much in this sort of materialistic world that we live in. Again, it's very to think, well, yes, am I too greedy or proud and so on? What do I need to change in me? Because maybe I'm not living out who I truly am, and what I'm doing is I'm setting myself up for illness, because he felt that was at the root of all illness. So I think when we think about his philosophy from that point of view, to me, it still very much has currency today. Yeah, I mean, what's your favorite piece of philosophy?
One of my favorite parts of his philosophy is that, he says you need to do a lot of self-effort. You need to, see how you can serve the community. You need to do spiritual effort to figure out your purpose and to live your life completely. He doesn't say over there that take my remedies.
No.
He says you need to do all this, and it's very clear that he puts the remedies as a support system, not as as the main.
Not central. No.
I really like that aspect very much.
Yeah. I think that is that how do you help others? How do you? I always feel like it's about how you're in service to life within and life of others. And that for me is very much, I feel, what sits with the philosophy. When he talks about the perfecting the personality, to the dictates of the soul. You've got to do the work on yourself. I think that's the thing. We can't think we can just sort of thunder through life, and not pay attention to this beyond our physical needs, and that we are connected. Everything's connected, and we have to recognize that everything is. And when we do, we know that an action that we take will have repercussions. So I feel that all the time he was really saying, be in service.
Right. From the Art of Living, the organization that I kind of grew up in and that I have been teaching with for the last 27 years now. Even we have we have like 3 mantras, if you will. One is called sadhana. Sadhana is meditation. Sadhana is reflecting within. And then the second is seva. Seva is getting out into the community and making a difference there. Sadhana, the meditation will give you a lot of energy. So you go out into the community and help others with that energy so that you can get even more energy.
Yeah.
And then the third is satsang. And satsang means being in the company of the truth. And being with like-minded people so that you can enhance each other, and if one is down, the other can pull them up,
Yeah.
And I feel that that the sadhana, seva, satsang, the meditation, the service, and the being in great company really reflects so much in Dr. Batch's work.
So. And I think that, I mean, he talks about meditation, doesn't he, in Heal Thyself, about the need to meditate as well. And I think so much of what informed Heal Thyself, that book of his, was the fact that he'd been influenced, I think, by Eastern philosophies. And I, so for me, it was kind of a coming together of so much of that, really. And he was certainly somebody who was kind of living his path. And that, I feel, is just so admirable, really, because we can all make excuses as to why we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think even, when I think about in the sort of the face of, the Royal, he was a member of the Royal College of Surgeons, and, when they actually threatened to take him, off the register, he actually, he challenged them, and they never did take him off.
Good part.
He held his ground because he had the courage of his convictions. And I think, that, and obviously the fact he had the support of Nora Weeks and Victor Bullen as well, and the other people who supported his work, perhaps that also gave him some courage too sometimes.
Right.
I think it interesting that the first 3 flowers he found were Mimulus, Clematis, and Impatiens. And, and I think, yes, Mimulus for fear, Impatiens in a hurry to get this done, and I'm going to do it on my own. And then Clematis, which is very much about, staying grounded, so you can bring in what you need to bring in, and bring your vision in, if you like. And I often think that was quite interesting. He found those 3 first. And, because we do need courage when we're taking another step. And it's the remedies can help us do all of that.
Yeah, because the step that you took was quite dramatic, wasn't it? You just quit a very successful Harley Street practice and just went off into the woods, literally.
Yeah, absolutely. And I sort of think, because Nora was so practical, and I think that was what was great, because she found the house eventually in Brightwell-cum-Sutwell, which is, still where the Batch Centre is today. And I think she took care of the practicalities, basically, but often there was no money. He built his own furniture. That's still at the Batch Centre as well. And he just did his own thing, really. And I think sometimes when you're with somebody who's sort of a genius in their own way, is that you just want to do whatever you can to support the work.
Right.
And I know of another lady like that, same sort of generation actually, and what she did to support this man's work, and he was associated with Rudolf Steiner's work, and because they felt that they were helping them carry the legacy. And she carried on after he died. She carried on his legacy, as did Nora did. So I just think it is quite extraordinary, really. And I suppose in a way it's like those women almost get forgotten, and which I think is a bit of a shame, really. But anyway, at least the work's out there, and that's the main thing.
And I'm glad that the Batch Center started Nora Weeks, recipes. So at least in some way she's remembered, and she's remembered for the crisis cream as well, which is such a nice thing.
Yeah. Well, and also she had kind of resumed the relationship with Nelson's. I mean, Dr. Batch used to go on the train to London with the bottles of the mother tinctures that he would take down to Nelson's, who were homeopathic pharmacy in Duke Street in London, and then after he died, and they were trying to do all the bottling as well at the Batch Centre, which was far too labour intensive because it became so popular. It was her that actually re-established the relationship with Nelson's, and who were under new ownership, and sort of kept it all going. I mean, she was just she was quite something, really. So,
Mm.
which is, I think, really good to hear about. But I think, you know, sort of going back to the philosophy, I think one of the challenges for sometimes people, so I have here, I've got my copy of Heal Thyself, which is a very battered copy. I've had it a very long time. But this is really all you need, in a way, is the 12 healers and Heal Thyself. That's all you need to start knowing about the remedies. I think sometimes with the Heal Thyself, people can find, you know, the idea that they're responsible for their condition sometimes can be hard for people to think about, you know, that because they're not in a place that they want to accept that kind of responsibility for their own health. And I think that that can take a bit of getting used to.
Mm.
But I mean, he says here, and I love this, you know, he said, the very nature of an illness will be a useful guide to assist in discovering the type of action which is being taken against the divine law of love and unity. So, you know, what we're doing, if there's anything that's against that, we will manifest something.
Yeah. So, Lynn, can you tell us a little bit about how, if people would, I mean, you just showed the 2 books, but the Bach Center has an entire course on learning about the remedies. So could you very briefly tell us about the level 1, 2, and 3 courses,
Sure.
you know, and start on them?
Yeah. So level 1 is just to learn the basics. It's to learn about the 38 flower remedies, and it's usually spread over a couple of days, or, you know, depending on where you are in the world. It can be broken up in different ways. But anyway, so it's equivalent of a 2-day course. And that will help you be able to identify your own remedies, know a little bit about the philosophy and the history, and know how to make a remedy up. And then you can, you know, start using them on yourself. And as I say, some people just like to practice with them and just use them, you know, for themselves and their friends. That is available as a distance learning program from the Bach Center, but it's also available, more people now doing it online because of what's happened with COVID. And so there are more online courses happening all around the world. And you just have to go onto the Bach Center website actually to see it, the list of any of the courses that are available. And then there's level 2. So then people decide to progress to level 2. Level 2 is much more about your personal journey and learning a bit more about yourself in the context of the remedies, and also learning more about the subtleties of the remedies and the different what do I want to say? The different types, the different moods. There's much more. You're breaking the program down a bit more, the system down a bit more, so you can understand it in more depth. Because while on a superficial basis, we might say, well, beach is for somebody who's intolerant and they're critical, which is true, yeah. But when we do a level 2, we start to learn that actually, well, what is it that really motivates a beach personality? Is actually they've got this desire for beauty. And so they can't tolerate anything that isn't, in their view, you know, beautiful or ordered in some way. So it's understanding those subtleties. And then level 3, is usually a sort of 3.5 to 4-day program, which is about you becoming a practitioner. And so you come on that is a lot of work, Khurshed, there's, you know, it's role play, there's discussing cases, there's sort of taking a deeper dive into it in terms of that real world time of working with clients, what that means for you if you are going to become a practitioner, about your professionalism, your code of practice, and so on. And then there's a paper that you have to do at the end of that. And then you go away and you take, usually it's at least 6 months and no more than 18 months to collect your case studies, to write an essay, to do a little bit more, if you like, correspondence type of learning. And then eventually you're asked, yes, you've completed all those stages. Would you like to join the the Bach Foundation Registered Practitioners and agree to adhere by the code of practice? And if you say yes, then you're on the register and off you go.
I am.
Yeah, you did. And then after that, you know, what happens is, because some people, you know, like you've done, which I'm so thrilled about, is that you've, you know, you decide you want to teach the system as well, beyond the sort of the teaching that goes on with the client, that you want to teach, you know, groups of people. And so then there's the teachers training programs. And so level 1, which you've done, and that means that now, you know, that you teach level 1 programs, and then people can go on to do the level 2 teacher program and the level 3 teacher program. And so, you know, and I think one of the things, I think even for that, and I think often people have realized, is that sometimes they come on the first teachers program, they go, actually thinking about it, I think I really want to give talks. And that's great, because some people just want to give talks and they're really good at it. And they don't particularly want to do, you know, teaching more formal classes. And then then they realize that perhaps they're not suited to teaching level 2 or level 3, that actually they're best at level 1. And I always say, you know, find your niche, whatever your niche is, because we have to have the strong foundations. We can't build a house without those foundations. And I feel that level 1 is so, so important that we get those foundations right. So I think every teacher, whichever level they're teaching, are contributing to building the house. And yeah, I'm very pleased you're going on to do level 2, and I'm sure you'll go on to do level 3. Which is fantastic, because we do need more teachers out there, without question, or we need more people talking about it. And I feel one of the biggest challenges has been that often when people work in, you know, work on a one-to-one basis, we can get quite insular, and we don't actually, you know, we're not mixing enough, if you like, with greater numbers of people, and we don't necessarily talk about our work enough, or about the system enough, or the philosophy enough. And I think that what we need to do is that we do need to reach out. We need to be talking about it more, because I'm still astounded how many people don't know about this system. And it's, you know, I think it's always a great shame, or they know, or they think they know, and they're just very dismissive. And whereas years ago, I'd think, right, I need to kind of set them straight. It's like, actually, no, you know, if you're open to this, then here it is.
Right.
And if you're not, then you're going to dismiss it. And I think and sometimes it's about timing, isn't it? You know? Yeah.
I'm actually teaching a level 1 online course just now, Lynn. You know, we have our next session on Tuesday, and there was one of the girls on the course, and she said, "But I read on the net that it's a placebo." And I said, "So now that you've been on the course, what do you think?" And she said, "You know what? I don't believe it." And she's not even taken the remedies, but you know, just hearing about Dr. Batch and about the remedies, she just said, I don't think so at all. And I said, that's the point.
Yeah.
So when you take the remedies and you see the difference in yourself, and there is something within you that you know this is right, even if someone tells you no, it's not, you know somewhere within you that you know, you may be saying that, but I don't agree with you. And I would go with that feeling. You know, let me tell you a little story. Something very similar happened with our spiritual master, Gurudev, you know, Shri Shri Ravi Shankar.
Yeah.
So I think he was in the UK, Birmingham or something like that. And he was asked this question, Gurudev, are you enlightened? And he just looked at the reporter, the journalist who asked him the question, and said, "No, I'm not." and he said, you know, because if I said yes, then he would ask me to prove it, and I don't want to sit there and prove it. So I just said no, because when I say no, it's done, it's over. And the journalist says, I don't buy that. I don't believe that. Then Gurudev tells him, but what makes you say that? I'm telling you I'm not enlightened, so why don't you buy it? And he says, no, I know that that's not the case. And then Gurudev looks at him in the eye and says, then listen to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think
wonderful.
it's the same for the flowers. You know, there is a part in you which says uh, there is some shakti, some magic in this, and it's waiting to be discovered.
Yeah.
And I think the Bat Center is doing such a fabulous job of bringing the remedies to more and more people. And guys, I have to tell you this: Lynn is just the most amazing teacher. You know, she really rocks the class, and it's just so much fun to be in her class. And I tell all my students who do the course with me, I say, level 3 you go to London to do. Level 2 you can do where you want. Level 1 you do with me, but
No.
level 3 you go and learn with Lynn.
Hopefully there'll be more happening in other countries, I think. But if I can just say this thing too as well, I think that people, this thing about placebo is that I don't have to convince anyone of anything.
Mm.
But I just find that it's like when people have when they use them on babies and on small children, or use them in situations, or with pets, with animals. They're used, they're used by everybody, really,
Yes.
anyone of any age.
Oh yes, we didn't mention that at all, that it can be used with
No.
animals as well.
Yeah.
I actually gave it to our elephant in the ashram.
Oh, really?
We have an elephant on the ashram, and he had a bit of a skin infection on his leg. So of course, in a whole bucket, we kind of poured the whole treatment bottle into it.
Yeah.
And I gave him crabapple, and there was a noticeable improvement.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So, and that elephant may be stressed in some way. I think that's the thing. And we just don't know what the stresses are, and they'll come out in ways like skin conditions and so on. But I also think, I remember someone who was in a coma, and I know that using the remedies on that person in a coma helped bring them back. It's because they will, because they're working energetically, and we are an energetic system. And I think that's what we often forget. So in a way, we're treating this energetic system that kind of constitutes, the human form, is we're introducing a system to that is resonating at, if you like, at that level. So I've seen so many things with, when they saw placebo, I go, oh, well, if you noticed, your dog is now bouncing around the garden after taking the remedies, or the horse is no longer freaking out every time they go out, they're taken out for a ride, or going into their stable and so on. And what though I think too happens is people go, oh yes, well that's because, and there'll be a different reason. And I go, well, you may think that. It's okay. In a way, it doesn't matter whether they believe it or not, because I think, has the remedies done their work on the person who's needed it? And yes, it has. So, and then it's just nice to feel that, yeah, we can kind of help bring that together, really. But I'm just thinking, if I could just show this, because, and I don't know, maybe I could send you the link, and if people want to download it. But, thinking about the chart, this chart with the remedies on, is that perhaps people, if they've got one of these and they start sort of looking at it and start thinking about the emotions that they are and the groups, because the remedies are in 7 groups. They can read it and then they can go, oh yes, that sounds like me, that sounds like me. And sometimes just that, 3-4 words, and they'll go, oh yes, I'm homesick and I'm always living in the past. Oh gosh, I need honeysuckle. And it can be as simple as that. And that is what I think is just so incredible.
So as one last question,
Okay.
what is your favorite batch remedy? Like
my favorite. The favorite isn't always what I need.
Yeah, but so what?
I have to say, I do like scleranthus, which is for indecision. And because I feel that with scleranthus, it just somehow, it settles that. I might not even know I'm particularly indecisive, but I feel like I'm not being as decisive. And I will take a couple of drops of scleranthus in my water in the morning, and then, oh, that's better. Mm-hmm. And I just move through things. So it's just noticing sometimes those subtle little shifts, because they're for passing moods and they're for personality types. And, you know, when I see somebody who's been very overbearing, for example, and controlling, and that they take some vine and then suddenly they're very charming and helpful. It's lovely. So, you know, what's your favorite?
Star of Bethlehem,
Oh,
without a doubt.
yeah.
You know, I kind of felt sorted after a bit of taking the remedies, and so I thought I would take Star of Bethlehem for a month and see how it felt, just for the heck of it.
Mm.
And somehow I just like the name of the flower, and looking at the flower also, it kind of, you know, it just such a cute flower, you know.
Yes.
So so I took it for a month, and I must say that for the first 10-12 days there was not much of a shift, but by the end of the month I was feeling so much lighter.
Really good.
You know, like you said, there was a spring in my step.
Yeah.
And I don't know what trauma it removed. I have no idea, but there was no doubt that something had gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of just like that remedy such a lot.
Well, actually, it's interesting you saying that, because one of the other remedies I like reaching for, almost in an experiment kind of way as well, is rock rose. Because I don't, you know, it's for panic actually, and you know, and terror, which I don't go through life in a state of panic or terror. But I often feel that how much do we absorb, you know, or almost unconsciously, you know, especially with all the fear that's generated around the world. You know, what's happened here with COVID. You know, I don't feel that I'm a fearful person, and yet, you know, how much am I absorbing of what's out there in the ether? And I do feel that when I take rock rose, I suddenly feel so much calmer, so much lighter, in a very subtle way, but it's definitely there. There's a difference. And I think in that question, actually, Khurshed, you asking that, it is a good reminder, is experiment with the flowers on yourself. You know, if you think one sounds like you, then just take it, see how you get on, you know, and notice what you notice. Because it's that, I think, that when we do, we then think, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm going to add some others in here, and I'm going to see what else I can do. Because, you know, we can mix up to 7 in a mix. But sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's good. It's very good.
It was so nice talking to you, Lynn. I mean, you have no idea how much I missed the level 2 training this time, and I was looking forward to meeting you and being at the Bat Center. By the way, guys, you know, in the Bat Center, as Lynn mentioned, they have a little museum, but it's a touch and feel museum. So, you know, Dr. Batch's books, something that he's written, his chair. So I actually sat in his chair and did the Sudarshan Kriya and did meditation on that chair. It really felt wonderful. And it's this really charming little place in the middle of nowhere, literally. And if you ever visit the UK, then just do a day visit there. It would be worth it. Don't expect too much, but it's like stepping into the 1920s, 1930s. They have maintained that charm and that rustic nature. And there is no doubt that, as Lynn said, there is that palpable healing energy over there.
Yes. When the garden's lovely, isn't it? You know, where they're still making the flower remedies from that garden as well. When you think how tiny that, you know, it's amazing. It's not a huge garden, and they've also got the cafe they've opened there now, Nora's cafe.
Yes, I can't wait to taste the food over there.
Yeah. So it's lovely. So I'm hoping that you and everyone will be able to come over again next year, and we come out of this situation with COVID
as soon as possible. Really.
Yeah, and I do hope that people will, you know, use the remedies actually to help them manage this, because, you know, everyone keeps talking about this new normal, and everyone, you know, find your own new normal, and see it as an opportunity really for you to kind of grow through this as well. And I think the Bach remedies will really, you know, help you to, you know, everyone to be able to do that. And I also have got to say, I think the work that you do, and, you know, I mean, your book was done so incredibly well. We should also wish that, you know, your books have been brilliant. Ready, Steady,
Yeah, ready, steady, go.
Go and Happiness Express, yes. And I bet you've got another one coming, haven't you?
Yes, it's going to be called Sleep Your Way to Success.
Oh, wonderful. You come up with the best titles. And but all the, you know, and all the work that you do with Art of Living and so on, I think it's just fantastic. You know, that you're reaching so many people, and I knew when you first came into my classroom, I thought, yes. So I really hope you're able to, you know, continue to do more of this with your batch work as well. I think it feels like it's a really lovely way to bring everything together.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, and thank you for having me, because I've just loved doing this, because as you know, once I start talking about Bach Flower Remedies, it's hard for me to stop.
It was just really lovely chatting with you, Lynn, and maybe we'll do another episode some other time again, and
Yeah,
you know, more about the Bach flowers.
Yeah, one way or another, we'll change the world, huh?
Yes. Okay, Lynn, thanks a lot.
Take care. Okay, many thanks. Thank you. Thank you.
And so for all of you who watched today's video and enjoyed it, and I know you did, please like, share, comment, subscribe. You know the drill, right? And we'll keep bringing you more and more such amazing conversations with the most amazing people that we have been fortunate to meet from all over the world. Good night. Jai Gurudev. Bye, Lynn.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.